Kodshim. So we're on Amud Yud, on page Yud, and on the left column, Os Gimel. Yesh ben Arishonim Asover. So now he's quoting the Shita of the Rambam in Pirush HaMishnayos. She'im balas hamum adayin bidei habaylam harishon bazeh l'Rabbi Elazar asur afilu basar b'kedera. So you may remember that Rabbi Elazar was of the opinion that if, let's say, you designated a certain animal as a chatos, and then it got lost, or alternatively, then it became a balas mum. So now the question is, once you poda that animal, can you shecht it and eat it? We normally say that once it became psulei hamukdashim, it's possible lemizbeach, then just go ahead and shecht it, and you eat the basar. But here, we're going to say no. The shechita is not going to be mate. It's what's called a chatas hamesa. Chatas hamesa means that it just has to die, and there's no heter. You can't use shechita to be matir as we normally would do in chulin the basa, because it still, as we said last week, retains to some extent vestige of its status as a chat. That's according to Rabbi Elazar. L'chachamim dafka kodem shechita. In other words, you haven't, in a sense, manifest your bailus, your ownership, private ownership over the animal until you shecht it. But once you shecht it, then you, in a sense, you acquire possession over it, and you're allowed to eat the basar. Now, be'ofen shekvar mochra bailun liacher, now you sell it to someone else. Now, as far as someone else is concerned, he's not carrying the weight of a chatas. To him, in the context of his ownership, it's just a regular behemoth chulin. It's after pigeon. He paid for it, it's his. Is bazeh afilu Rabbi Elazar asur rak kodem shechita. So you may say that the buyer has this period of time in which there's a quasi status as a chatas, but once he shechts it, even Rabbi Elazar would agree that he has manifested his ownership, his private ownership, and he can eat the basar. L'chachamim muteres af kodem shechita. The Rabbanan hold that there's no vestige of a status of a chatas if it now comes under a different bailus, either through pigeon, in the case of the original bailim, or by selling it to someone else. Yesh min harishonim hasover shegam im hifrish chatas achas v'nafal b'mum upta'a b'acheres nechleku tanoim b'das Rabbi Elazar imi muteres kodem shechita afilu kshabasa b'kedera asura. We're going to have a dispute about the case where he was mafresh a korban as a chatos, now became balmum. He was poded with another animal, and in such a case, you have one opinion that says once you poded to another animal, any vestige of chatos status in the first animal was now transferred to the second animal. Hence, the first animal is mutter. However, Rabbi Elazar says that you require shechita, so this heter is postponed until you actually shecht the animal, and as we said before, you manifest your bailus over the animal, and you completely null and void any vestige of chatos, of shem chatos. But there's another opinion, and according to another school of thought, even if you already shechted it, it still remains asura, and you can't eat the basar. You can cook it as long as you want, but you can't eat it, because it was a chata shemesa. And once the chata shemesa, Rabbi Elazar holds it never loses that status as a chata shemesa. Now he has a second section here. We were covering the first section. In the second section, he has Shitas Chacham v'Rebbe. Das Chacham v'Rebbe, Shelo Nemar Kipru Ba'aleh Tamus, El B'tziruf Ma Shehi Avuda. In other words, it's not enough to say, well, he once lost the animal, he replaced it, and he brought the second replacement animal, and he was therefore achieved his kapara. You have to add another condition, another element here, and that is that the animal is avuda. He never found the first animal. Well, again, if he doesn't find the first animal, then obviously it's not a chatas hamesa. Chatas hamesa means you lock it up until it dies, but he didn't even find it. So what he means is that what's considered a avuda, so that we have here hifrish chatos v'ovda v'hifrish acheres tacher v'hikru v'sashnia v'achach nimtzeis rishona harezu meisel divrei hakol sharei hoisa avuda b'shas kapara shel hashnia. Fascinating halacha that everything depends on one critical moment, and that's the moment in which he bismakriv the second carbon to replace the first. And since at that moment in time, he didn't know where the first animal was, had he known, he wouldn't have bothered with the second one, the replacement. Therefore, it gets the status of an avuda, and it's kipru ba'aleh, so you have all the conditions necessary, and therefore, everybody agrees unanimously that it's a chata shemesa. Why? Because it was avuda b'shas kapara. When he brought the second carbon to replace the first one, it was avuda. Yesh min harishonu shekosav shedin zeh eino el biofen shafroshas hashniya hoisa tachas avedas harishonu. Achim Hifrish, remember we had another case, a very weird kind of setup where he was mafrish two chatos, just in case, as a backup, like as an insurance policy. If he loses one, he'll have the other. Im Hifrish shtei chatos liachrayus, of the achas me'em v'ikru v'sashniya v'akach nitzis shona eino meisel aroa. This is not called a chatos shemes. Why? Because the original Hakdasha was for the purpose of covering in event that the other Chatas is lost, the other animal. So built into his Hakdasha was a process of replacement. Now, again, once he replaced it and he brought the other carbon, he was miskaper. He can't bring the second carbon, which is still alive and well. But it's not a chata shemesa because he initially, from the get-go, designated for the purpose of achrayus. Achrayus means as an insurance policy. Osvu achronim, shalashitas rishonim zu, kmochenim hifrish chatos v'nignevo. Oh, here's an interesting case. He designates an animal for a chatos and somebody steals it. Ein zen nikra avuda. For some reason, gneva is not the same as Aveda. And the animal is not lost. You know, the Ganav knows where it is. We don't know where it is. Then Hifrish Acheres Tachtel, and then they track down the Ganav, and they take the original Chatos back from the Ganav, and then Shuv Nevda. Then it got lost the second time. First it was stolen, then it was located, it was found, and now it was lost. An amazing chadgadya over here. The hikriv is hashniya, then they were makriv the second replacement carbon. The akach nimtzeis harishona, then they locate the first original designated carbon. Eina mesa elaroa. Why? The fisha mulvada avuda b'shas kapara. Tzarech lios gam avuda b'shas hafrosha. Behind it b'shas hifritz tashniya. ובאופן זה הרי זה רק עבודה בש"ס כפרה ולא בש"ס הפרשה. Again, we're saying that the fact that it was stolen, that doesn't mean it's lost. Because again, the Ganav and maybe a few other people know where it is. And if it's not lost, then when he replaced it, the Bible, with a second string carbon, the time of the afresh of the second string, the first carbon was not lost. Even though he has no clue where it is, but it wasn't lost. Therefore, it's not a Chata Shemes. Now we move on to page Yud Aleph. Hifrish chatos the Avda. Okay, that's a classic case. He was mafrish animal A, it got lost. Hifrish acheres tachteo, and now he designates animal B as a replacement. V'niptes harishona, and now he finds A, kodem shehikra v'sashniya, before he finds the second animal. I mean, in that case, I would certainly say let him bring the first animal. That was the original. It's nechleku amaroim b'din zeh. L'das Rav Huna, according to Rav Huna, apparently a sugya on Daf of Gimel, imi daito moshach acheres mehen ve'kriva, bein moshach es she'en avuda, bein moshach es ha'avuda. Notice whether he grabs on to the first one or the second one, Harei Ashniya Tamus. Like, what does he mean by the Shniya? I'm not sure what he means by the Shniya. Let's assume he means the replacement one. So there's A and B. And now he decides that he is going to, Mashiach means he's bringing it towards the Beis HaMikdash for a carbon, and he decides again, if he decides that he wants to take the first one, the original, I understand the Shniya Tamus. That's a Chatos Shemesa. Because he doesn't need this Chatos. He's bringing the original Chatos that he designated as a Chatos. But he's talking Bein Moshach Es Ha She'ena Avuda, which means the second one, the replacement carbon. Harei Ashniya Tamus, Vehi Bechlal Chatos Shekipru Ba'aleh Shedina Lemisa. I think what he's saying is that it doesn't help him one iota if he's Moshech the Shniya, because now he found the Rishona. But in Lo Moshach Midaito Elaboli Molech Bezdinezim and Makriv is Nechlu Kubazeh Rebbe B'Chacham. So we have a dispute here. If he comes to Bezdin and asks which one of the two he should bring as a carbon, L'shitas Chachamim Asu Takana B'Kodshim. They want to somehow avoid the din of Misa to a carbon. Is therefore Tiknu Chacham Sheyakar V'Savuda. Right, because the din of Chata Shemesa would apply to the first animal. And therefore, the Chachamim are going to give him a mandate to bring the first carbon, which would have been a Chata Shemesa, but now they're instructing him to bring that carbon on the Mizbeach. Ulefichach hashniya she'ena avuda, the shniya was never lost, so we don't have to just let it die. Trey lo nevda was never lost. So that's the sheet of the Chacham. L'shitas Rebbe lo tiknu kein el yochel hakavis she'ena avuda. He can be makriv the replacement carbon. So the first one, which is lost, that's the one that's Thomas, according to the sheet of Rebbe. The Shitas Rebbe Shalo Asu Takana Kodshim. They didn't make this takana that he should be advised and recommended to be makriv the first carbon, so the second carbon will be tira achit time. It won't be tamus. Nechleku rishonim and hainu kakli ofen she'ena avuda yotzer shmeina umuvcheres min aved. Fichsoverav shlo tiknu lahatzil savuda b'noa es hakrobas hashe'ena avuda behidur. So it means that the replacement carbon is that much more beautiful. You know, it won the prize in the, what do they call it? You know, when they have these marketplaces, you know, in the small villages, and they have these, you know, not contests, you know, like in the fair, you know, which one is going to get the prize for the most beautiful cow or something like that. So the second cow is more beautiful than the first cow. So Rebbe says we're not going to make a takana in order to circumvent Tammuz and tell him to take the first cow as a carbon, because we'd rather that he take the mitzvah min hamuvchar of the carbon. He should get the choice carbon. So that's apparently one sheet of the Rishonim. The second sheet that says Oshel Adas Rebbe Bechol Ofen Lo Yaakov es Havuda El Yaakov es She'ein Havuda. Rebbe always tips the scale in favor of the replacement carbon, which is a bit of a surprise when you think about it, because they found the original carbon. Okay. That leads us to this paragraph of Ladas Rabbi Abba. Just 1 second. What did I do? Yeah, I had a pencil here.